You are listening to Radio Long Island City, recorded at our studios near Hell Gate, 9 kilometers north of the Harbor Hill Moraine. And now, the Observatory. The Observatory, Friday the 14th of March, 2025. It is 83 days after the winter solstice. It is 6 days before the spring equinox. By the French Republican calendar, it is the 24th day of Ventose, the day of the Pâquerette, the daisy. The sun rises today at 7:08 a.m. Solar noon takes place today at 1:05 p.m. The sun sets today at 7:02 p.m. Civil twilight ends at 7:28 p.m. and nautical twilight ends at 8:01 p.m. The length of daytime today is 2 minutes 42 seconds longer than yesterday. The full moon arrives today at 2:59 a.m. According to the Farmer's Almanac, this is the full worm moon. The last quarter will arrive on Saturday, the 22nd of March. These are the predicted tides today for Horn's Hook. In the early morning, low tide, 5:03 a.m., 6 centimeters. Near midday, high tide, 11:23 a.m., 1 meter 40. In the afternoon, low tide, 5:15 p.m., 3 centimeters. At night, high tide, 11:37 p.m., 1 meter 49. In our shared realm of plants and animals, the silver maples, Acer saccharinum, have just burst into flower. Their branches are covered with tiny red dots. The flowers are quite small. This gives a pointillist effect of the branches against the sky. A native of the eastern woodlands, they also go by the names creek maple, soft maple, water maple, swamp maple, and white maple. Not the most common of street trees, they are nonetheless distributed broadly across the neighborhood. Commemorations. On this day in 1836, Isabella Beeton was born. She began her writing career with her husband Samuel, contributing to his publication, the English Woman's Domestic Magazine. They would eventually establish an equal partnership in publishing in mid-19th century England. Isabella Beeton is most famous for her book, Mrs. Beeton's Book of Household Management, published in 1861. After her early death in 1865, the book continued to be in print, with many additions and changes over the many years. It is one of the most famous books of English cookery. It remains in print to this day. Among her wise tidbits is this advice: there should be a place for everything, and everything in its place. She also commented in true Victorian fashion, "It is to be regretted that domestication has seriously deteriorated the moral character of the duck. In a wild state he is a faithful husband, but no sooner is he domesticated than he becomes polygamous and makes nothing of owning 10 or a dozen wives at a time." On this day in 1879, Albert Einstein was born. On this day in 1887, Sylvia Beach was born in Baltimore. She opened her Paris bookstore, Shakespeare and Company, in 1919, where she sold works in English and attracted both American expats and members of the French literary scene. In 1922, she published James Joyce's novel Ulysses. The first printing of 1,000 copies was sold exclusively by her shop. Shakespeare and Company was forced to close during the German occupation of Paris. On this day in 1922, Colin Fletcher was born in Cardiff. The Welsh author was a pioneering backpacker. In his 1968 book, The Man Who Walked Through Time, he chronicled his pioneering hike through the Grand Canyon National Park. His most influential book, The Complete Walker, is a kind of backpacker's Bible. He once wrote this: "Dedicated urbanites know beyond the shadow of a doubt that civilization is the real world. You only escape to wilderness. When you're out and away and immersed, you know the obverse. The wilderness world is real, the human world a superimposed facade. The controversy is, of course, spurious. Neither view can stand alone. Both worlds are real." Alternate side of the street parking is suspended today in New York City for Purim. And that is the Observatory, Friday the 14th of March, 2025.